Good morning, class.
Good morning,
Morning.
Mr.
Good
Dawes.
morning,
Our new story this morning is the red balloon. Our focus is going to be on literacy and comprehension for the reading. Okay? Now,
Yes, sir.
again, our story, Red Balloon, title written by Sarah Moore, illustrated by Brad Lane. Illustrated. Anybody think they know what the word illustrated means? Thomas, yes?
Pictured by, like, colored and stuff.
All right, that is correct. Thank you very much for that. It's a great answer. Now, let's go through this very quickly. I want you to, first off, active listening position. Use these two more than this one. Okay. Marshall has a red balloon. He can squeeze it. He can stretch it. What is inside Marshall's red balloon? Not knowing what's in it. What do you think will be in there? Rayleigh?
Air.
Okay, air is one possibility. Anybody else have another prediction what they think might be in there?
Water.
Okay, water. Okay. Any more predictions? We have air and water so far. Anything?
No.
Okay, well, air and water. Those sound like two great predictions so far. Let's continue reading and let's go on. Now, who can help me read this first sentence? Who wants to help me? All right. That me?
There is rice inside Marshall's red balloon.
Okay. Now, we know that there's rice inside. Ah, right. Now, we know that looking at the next sentence, that rice is hard and that rice is pointy. Okay. Now, what's inside the balloon?
Rice.
Now, I have a balloon here. Like for y'all to see, I'm gonna pass it around. Okay, but first, Ray, can you please read this paragraph for me?
Rice is a solid.
Okay.
Marshall can see it. Marshall can hold it.
Okay, now, we know now about rice. What is rice? I'll pass this around. What is rice?
Rice is a solid.
Okay.
And see it can hold it.
It's rice.
It's rice.
Now, we know that Marshall has a what color balloon?
Red.
What can he do with it?
He
Squish it.
Squish it.
Oh,
Okay.
squish.
And he can also squash it.
Squish it,
Now,
squash.
again, Tom, what is inside Marshall's balloon?
More rice.
All right, okay. Now, let's continue on. Now, thank you. Now, there is water inside Marshall's red balloon. The water splishes, the water splashes. Next up here we have our water balloon. Please don't drop it because we just cleaned the room, okay? Hold on. You want to throw it right in, okay? Now, what's inside of this balloon this time?
Water.
Okay. Now, what can the water do?
Splish and splash.
Now that we know that water. What is water? Looking at our
Water.
first.
It's liquid.
Liquid.
Okay. Now, Marshall cannot hold it. It drips to the floor. Now, just for this purpose, we're not going to open it up and spill on the floor, but just for looking at our model from the story, we can see that it's a liquid, and if I was to open this up and pour it out, it's going to come out.
Make a mess.
So, water is something that I cannot hold. Now, going back to the two elements we talked about so far. I have
Rice.
the water and I have the rice. If they were in this balloon, which one could I hold? The water or the rice?
You hold both.
The rice.
No, the rice.
The rice, because the water,
See,
put in
it
my hand,
says
it's going to
Marshall
drip right through.
cannot.
Hold it.
Okay. Now, let's continue on. Now, Bethany, if you please read the first sentence for me.
Marshall has a red balloon.
He can bounce it. He can bag it. Thomas, if you please read the third sentence for me.
What is inside Marshall's red balloon?
Okay. Now, let's look at the picture. He's holding the balloon this time. And we see an arrow that's going up. Now, what do we see here this time?
Nothing.
Nothing. So,
That's not.
else will happen?
The balloon will fly all over.
Okay.
The balloon will get smaller.
Very good. It's smaller, fly around, and the air will come. All right, let's see what happens with this one. A little more air. All right, now, let's see if your predictions are all true. Okay. And all 3 predictions were true. Thank you.
Woo!
That's good. And that is the end.
And
Now, we're going to go back through this, and I'm going to ask you some questions that relate to our story. Okay? Now, if you I will share this, and okay. Now, again, we're going to look at the who, the what, the where, and the why of this story. Okay? Now, what is the title of our story?
The red balloon.
Okay. And how could you come about figuring that out? What would make you just sing, like sing, first off, sing the title alone of the story,
And
right
the
here,
picture,
will
the
give you,
illustration.
that will give you your first and best clue to tell you what the story is about, all this. Okay? And of course the picture. But if there was no picture, you would have to depend on the words alone. Now, we also know that it was written by Sarah Moore, and as Thomas so wisely pointed out, illustrated by Brad Blank. And she also told us that an illustration is the person that draws the pictures of the story. Now, if we go on to page 1 and we go back through, after we all read the story together, who would this story be about, Thomas?
Marshall.
Marshall. Okay. Now, and by looking at the first sentence, that should always your first clue about who or what or where the story or why something happened. Your first sentence is always going to give you your best clue as far as what the story is about. And we know here that Marshall has a red balloon. So what name do we see there? Marshall.
Marshall.
Okay. Now, we know who is the story about? Marshall. Okay. Now, what does Marshall have again?
A red balloon.
Okay. And we know that he'll squeeze it, he'll squash it, he can stretch it. Okay? Now, the question that they ask us at the bottom, what is inside? That can lead us to, we've already talked about who, now we can look at the what. Now, we know this red balloon here, and we're looking at what is inside this. Now, we've already gone through the story, so we know that the first thing that is inside our balloon is rice. Okay? So, we go who, Marshall, what, red balloon. Okay, what's inside of it? Rice. Okay, now,
Rice is a salt.
okay, we know the salt. Now, we also can find some more descriptive adjectives about this also, in that it is hard and that it is pointy.
Pointy.
Mhm.
Yes.
Now, would this be nice to throw at somebody?
Yes.
No. Well, when you do beanbag toss, as long as you don't hit them.
That wouldn't be nice. That wouldn't be nice.
Don't hit them.
All right, now, continuing on, okay, we're still talking about the first item, which is the rice. We discussed that it is a sop. Again, if I was to pour this out, I can see it, I can hold it. I can put it in the microwave, put it in the pot, I can cook it. Okay. I can do that now, but remember? Now, we go back to the red balloon again. Okay, what does Marshall have again?
Red
Sure,
balloon.
that red
Okay.
balloon.
Who was the story about again?
Marshall.
Okay. Now, what is Marshall? I'm going to be Marshall. What is Marshall doing to the balloon?
Squish.
Squishing it.
Squishing
Squashing
it and he
All
can
right.
squash.
Now, we know from our reading that the first thing in there was rice. Okay. We know that hold it, it's solid,
Pointy.
pointy, and hard. Now, our next item or element in there was water. Okay. Now, with the water, is the water hard? Is
No,
it pointy?
it's splishes and splashes.
Okay.
And cold.
The story.
Now, Marshall, the red balloon that Marshall has, this water is a liquid. Okay. Can you hold this water?
No.
And this balloon, I can hold it. If I was to untie this and pour this out, it would all go on the floor, and I wouldn't be able to hold it. Okay? It would drip on the floor and make a mess, and if you do this at home, your mother will not be very happy, or I know your mother would not be happy at all. Once again, we know that Marshall has a what?
A
Red balloon.
Okay.
Marshall had 3 balloons,
Mhm.
Yeah.
3 red balloons.
He's the
Now,
smartest in the class.
with this one,
Thanks.
if I tie this up, I can bounce it around and I can knock it upside my head and stuff.
Bounce.
I can bounce it, I can bat it. I can take a pin and pop it and
No.
and it'll bust everywhere. I can also untie it, let it go in. Make silly noises that will aggravate teachers in class. High school nerd. Now, we know what was inside the balloon the third time? Air.
Air.
Okay. And what was inside the balloon the second time?
Water.
Water.
And what was inside it the first time?
Rice.
Okay. So, what was our story about again?
Marshall.
Marshall.
What was our story about?
Red
Red
balloon.
balloons.
What were some of the items that were held in this red balloon?
Water, air, and rice.
Air, water, and rice.
Solid and liquid and gas.
Now, little FYI science element that you can take in this dead science class after you leave here. Water, solid, is a solid. Water is a liquid. Rice is a solid. Air is a gas. These are all part of your elements. The fourth one is fire. We're not going to mess with fire. No.
Can a balloon have fire in it?
No, we don't want to. We don't want to have that, no, because then I'll have to pay for all the damage in here. But no, these are some of your elements. Okay. Now, again, we know inside our third balloon that it had air. Okay, the air was light. It's light. In place of the air, I can put helium in here, which is a gas, and it float up. If I was to
Like at a birthday party.
If I was to let the helium out and let it in, I would sound very funny. I'd sound like I'm about 2 years old. But we're going to stay with gas because helium can be, although oxygen is flammable, helium can be also flammable. And that's right. Temperature.
Dangerous.
Now, this air fills this balloon up so that you can hold it up and pop it around, bat it around, so let it out and fly all across the room. And watch all your classmates, you all dodge and duck. Watch your teacher get very mad. Okay? Now, again, we know that air is a gas. You can't hold it. You can't see it, but it's all around us. And that sums up Marshall's red balloon. I have a few more questions that will relate to this. Okay. Now, we know that it was a who. We know that. Now, where did the story take place? Remember, there's 5 W's. Who, what, where, when. What do you think? Well, before you preview, let's preview. Where do you think this story took place in?
Marshall's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one prediction. Okay.
Or in his science lab at school.
Science labs is another good prediction.
Because you can't have water in your classroom.
Well, you can, but you can't pour it out. So we have home and we have science lab at school.
And it wasn't outside because it doesn't have blue sky behind it. has
Maybe
a
it was
wall.
your class.
It probably might have been my class. And that's a good prediction right there as far as there are clues, there are comprehension clues that are always in there. That are not overt, they're more covert or underlined. Sometimes within the picture, you have to look at what's around. It won't always be in the words. Sometimes it'll be in the picture.
I think
And you have to make general assumptions about where the story takes place. And sometimes you have to make an assumption about why. Now,
I
why?
think Marshall was at home because he didn't have any socks or shoes. And
Yeah, at school you have to wear socks and shoes.
Okay, so that's a good observation. Now, I want to focus on why. Because we know the who, who the story is about is Marshall. We know what the story about. Marshall in red balloons and looking at different elements in each one of them. We looked at water, we looked at air, we looked at rice. Okay, we know that rice is a solid, we know that the air is a gas, we know that water is a liquid. Okay? So, again, that prediction of a science class is good, but we can combine science and home. He might have been doing this for a project at home.
Yeah.
Okay? Those are some of the little subtle things that you can pick up from the story as you read along for in-depth analysis. Now, we know who, we know where, home, we know what. Now, let's think about the why. Why do you think Marshall was looking at these red balloons and he had one filled up with rice, he had one filled up with air, he had one filled up with water? Why do you think he had those filled up like that?
So you can see the elements, like you said.
Or he could have talked about the different stages of matter.
Yeah, maybe he could have done it with water and ice and humidity, or what do you, clouds.
So the matter, it is true. It's
He's
all
trying to
forms of
show.
matter. Now, I have one thing I really focus on what you can say. And I want you to think about this before you answer. Okay? Now, these are all elements. The air. Are these all vital to us? Yes or no?
Yes.
Do we need
Yes.
air? Do we need water?
Yes.
Do we need, well, not rice, but just food in
Food.
general? Okay? Now, related to our story, why do we need the air?
Breathe.
Yeah.
Okay? The air to breathe. Why? Why do we need this water?
Drink.
Wash yourself. Clean yourself.
Clean our faces and to cook with.
And rice.
You
Well,
can
we'll just
eat.
say this food to eat.
You gotta
So-
get hungry and you got.
So, in relation to our story, these elements are also needed for us for our survival. Now, any questions in regards to our story or our three elements?
Can we do the water on the floor?
No, we can't, but afterwards I'll let you do it at the sink.
Outside?
Outside, yes, we do it outside or at the sink. Now, I wanted to focus back on, because we're struggling with a couple of words real quick. I want to, now, I know that Rayleigh, you were having trouble on this sentence, the rice is inside Marshall's red balloon. Now, the word Marshall, we're going to work on pronunciation, okay? Now, you see that word Marshall's. Here's how we're going to break it down. Now, here's how you can break it down. Break it down into, you say Marshalls. Now, break it down. Marshalls. Now, you say it quickly. Marshalls. Okay, now,
Marshall.
read that sentence for me again, please.
Marshall.
Read that sentence again.
There is rice inside Marshall's red balloon.
Thank you.
Mr. Dunn, there was a word I didn't understand.
Uh-huh.
Page 6. That one.
First sentence. I'm going to read the sentence for you. And
Yeah.
then we're gonna go. It says, water is a liquid. Now, let's take, okay? Let's break that word down. Liquid.
Quid.
Now, we say liquid.
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 Say it slow. Liquid.
Liquid.
Fast. Liquid.
Liquid.
Did you have a problem with any words?
Yes, sir. On each side, I had a problem with these.
They look the same.
Okay. Let's look at those two sentences. I'll read. The water splishes. The water splashes. Okay. Now let's look at splishes and splashes. Both of these words are very similar in that their initial blend in SPL. Say that with me. SPL. Split. Split. That's our initial consonant blend. Okay. We use these in every word, in many words that we say. daily in our speech. This SPL is split. Now, split. Then I'm going to take the ISH, ish,
Ish.
and then our N blend, which is ES or S. Split. Ishes.
Split.
Ishes. Now let's say it slow.
Split.
Ishes. Now very quick. Split. Ishes. Split. Ishes. Splishes. Okay. Now we look on our last E's. The water splashes. Split. Ashes. Split. Ashes. Split. Ashes. Split. Splashes. So we know that the water splishes, the water splashes.
Why are they so alike?
Hmm?
They look alike. Why are they different?
Well, because they're both actions. They're both actions. Water, if I was to throw this out, it's splish and splash. It's both terms are meaning this, they're both related, and they're both talking about something of a liquid form or something even of a solid that can break. If you drop it from high and it breaks, but more so liquid, it splish everywhere. You take a hot pot, and you grab it from the stove, and you don't hold it right, and you drop it. Well, everything's going to splish or splash everywhere. Okay? Or if you jump into a pool, you cannonball in there, and you're trying to get your mom, and she's not paying attention on the side of the pool, and you jump in, and you water comes up and splits and splashes all over her. That's another example of splishing and splashing.